Hey. I don't know. I was trying to be cool and stuff, and I can't. I'm too much of a dag for that. Uh, Welcome back. If you've been here before, if not, welcome to my channel. I am Twitch. Uh, Today we are doing another challenge. It is the New Year's challenge. Glitter. Hold up. Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right here. It is the New Year's challenge, Diamonds, Glitter, and Shine. Got it. And it is hosted by Meg from Lubbly Jubbly Furniture. I'll put the link for her channel in the description as well as the link for the challenge playlist. So I was doing really well for a second there. Um, the goal of the challenge is pretty straightforward. Needs to be shiny, glittery, sparkly. I'm guessing that could be like a gloss finish or a metallic finish or glittery, obviously. Maybe diamonds. Could be like paintings of diamonds or something like that. Um, for mine, I'm going with a glittery finish, and there might be diamonds in it. Not real ones. I'm not that cashed up, but hopefully I can make something nice and shiny and beautiful. We'll see. I'm going straight out of one piece of furniture into another. I literally moved one piece away from the staging wall and put the new ones straight in front of the wall, and I'm like all over it. I've had 5 cups of coffee today. All right, let's do it. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We have 2 bedside tables that were given to me, and they've already been started on, which works for me because the holes have been plugged up and there's just one single hole in the middle, which works for me because I'm going to be using knobs instead of drawer pulls. So that saves me having to do that. And they're on runners. Perfect. There's not really a lot to look at, but they're a nice simple piece, which I kind of like because it's like a blank canvas and you're not really, what you do with it isn't really dictated by details that are already on it. So it's just like a clean slate. But like, as soon as I saw them, I was like, yep, I know what I'm doing with these. So, first thing I'm going to do is give them a good clean. Okay, so the front legs have these grooves on the sides that I really didn't like, so I decided to just Bondo them up. For those of us in Australia, I've started using this builder's filler. It's a lot cheaper and it does the job perfectly. I'll be making the inside of these drawers as nice as the outside. So to start, I am taking the runners off. Even if you only need to sand the little Bondo parts for the holes on the drawer fronts, you're better off sanding all over that surface so that you don't accidentally end up with 2 big divots in the middle of your finish. I sanded all of the drawer sides, including the inside, until I was just left with these little corner pieces, and then quickly realised I should have just taken the base off right from the start, and taking the base off made it so much easier to get in there and get it done. Alright, now moving on to the bases. I had already planned to line the bases, but it's a good thing I did because prying them off kind of shredded the sides a bit, but it'll be good because it's all getting covered up. So I was starting by giving them a really good clean, and I'll be using this self-adhesive wallpaper that I got from Kmart ages ago. So basically I like to line up my paper with the piece I'm putting it on, make sure I've got enough room on all sides, peel back the start of it, stick that down, and then as I'm peeling the backing off, I rub from the center out. So the center up and then down and then up and down, and work my way along as I peel the backing off. And then I just cut the edges off. I don't always prime, but I will be priming this piece using Millie Boutique Primer and Adhesive Bond. The reason I'm using a primer on these pieces is because A, I'm going for a lighter colour this time, and also because there are parts that have been scraped or sanded off and the surface is very uneven. I will benefit greatly from having a primer on it first because that will help give me an even substrate. Okay, so here's the plan. And yes, that is a lot of different colours, but you'll see. Alright, so my plan is to paint the base in Millie Boutique Eco Enamel in the colour Penny. So we're going all girly for these. So that's going to be the base. And because the terrazzo finish on the last Ugly Duckling Challenge video was so popular, and because I loved it so much, I'm doing another terrazzo look, but this time I'm making my own paint chips. I can't take full credit for this idea because I got this idea from Tanya from Millie, and I want to give it a go as well. We'll see how we go. Okay, so this was a mission in and of itself. I spent 2 days trying to get these paint chips done. And initially I did just pour the paint on a sheet of plastic and left it to set, and it would not peel off. I could not separate it from the plastic. It just kept tearing the plastic. So the next thing I tried was pouring it onto baking paper, but the baking paper just kind of wrinkled up and went soggy, and I didn't think it was going to work. I then looked online and found out that the best way to do it is to add plaster of Paris to your paint. And I tested that on a few different sheets of plastic as well, and it still didn't work. In the end, I spread it out on foil. It did work. It didn't come off as easily as I was hoping it would. I had to sit there and pick it off, and eventually also worked out that if I flipped it over and peeled the foil off the back of the paint, that worked better and was less time consuming. I did then test out just straight paint by itself on baking paper again, and it does come off the baking paper. It peels straight off, in fact, but it doesn't really break up like it does with the plaster of Paris in it. So with the plaster of Paris mixed through the paint, it kind of breaks up like stone, which worked out really well and gave it a really authentic look, I think. So next time I do this, I'm going to go with plaster of Paris mixed through the paint, and I'm going to spread it on baking paper and see how it goes. I might do a separate video just testing it out and talking about it, and yeah, and then I'll put the link for that video in this description. So for the top of these pieces and to adhere the terrazzo to the tops, I'm using my primer. It's the last of what I had, and I didn't have any other white on hand at the time, and I wanted it to be white. So that's what I'm using. Judge me all you want. It does the job. So I just brush it on, and I do it in sections because you don't want the paint to dry out, otherwise the terrazzo won't adhere. You kind of want it to be laid down kind of thick, not so it's like dripping off or pooling or anything like that, but you want something for the terrazzo to kind of stick to and settle into. And then you just grab your paint chips and sprinkle them on. I kind of try to avoid doing any kind of pattern or trying to be too even with them. You want little clumps of them, but you don't want them to kind of stack up too much. You don't want to place them purposefully, but you know, try to make sure everywhere has a bit. Kind of need to press them down on the curves a little bit on these edges because they didn't want to sit flat for obvious reasons, and getting them on the edges, like the 90-degree angle edges, is a pain in the butt, but you know, you got to kind of press them on a bit. Once I've got each section done, I then went back in with my brush and my primer and stippled it on. It kind of helps make sure that you've got enough paint or primer underneath all of those pieces and kind of smushes it in, I guess. That's the technical term, yeah, smushes. But it worked, so, you know, say what you will. Make sure that is completely bone dry, and then go in with another coat of your paint or primer in my case, and lay it on thick, and make sure you get it in and around all of those edges. And if you see any gaps underneath pieces, just again smush it in there, really lay it on thick. So the plan for this was to add some glitter into the top of it, to make it look a bit more alive like terrazzo does, with that, you know, that shimmer that the natural stone has. And it didn't really work out, so you can't even see me putting it on here. I did another 2 coats of primer on top of everything and then left it all to dry overnight to make sure it was completely dry before going in with my sander. You don't have to use a sander on this if you want to take it slow and carefully. Just use a sanding block or something, but I am impatient, and that is why I end up, you know, stuffing things up. You will find that if you use suffuse paint or a chalk paint or something like that in the paint chips, some of it will kind of bleed into the white paint when you're sanding it. It's just the sander pushing the paint dust into the white paint. It is fixable. Just, you know, go over it again with another piece of sandpaper and just try and clean up those spots. You do want to be careful because you will take off edges and corners and stuff if you go too hard at it, but just go in and touch those up and then give them a little smooth sand afterwards. There is a lot of backwards and forwards with this. You will need to keep going in and do a layer of paint and then let it dry and then sand it and then a layer of paint and then sand it. It is hard work, but you know, it's worth it in the end because it just comes out amazing. Once I was satisfied with how smooth and level everything was, I went in with 400 grit sandpaper on my sanding block and just tried to get everything nice and smooth. I used Millie Satin Topcoat to seal my tops, and I'm using a 2 fussy blokes roller with a smooth sleeve. This went on super easy. I thought I was going to have to smooth sand in between coats, but it was just absolutely brilliant. Alright, we're done with the top, and now we can move on to spraying the bodies. And this time I'm remembering to put on my respirator before I get started. The spray gun I'm using is the corded Ozito spray gun. I think it was like $43. And I will be doing an in-depth video shortly after this one about the spray gun I'm using and what I've learned so far about spraying. so I'm not going to go into great detail here. And that video will end up in the description of this one, if I remember. The paint I'm using is Millie Eco Enamel Paint. You won't currently be able to purchase that paint if you want it, because it has been removed from the Millie website for supply issues. Okay, so I made these, and I will put that in a separate video because these are now irrelevant to this video. And I was planning on using these, and this was going to be like the glittery, shiny aspect of this. But it just wasn't working for me. This with the pink, it was too much. But I've had these things sitting around for ages. Some of them ended up on my son's bedside table, and I'll be honest, I don't like them. They're really not my thing. I see them on way too many pieces that I think they don't suit. That's just my opinion. This is a really bad angle. But, I mean, this is a challenge about all things glittery and shiny and diamonds, and what could be shinier and more diamondy than knobs that look like diamonds. So, going to use these. Oh, that one's gold. I'll put that one back and get the other one. So I'm going to chuck these on. I've already put one on, and I have to say, it's the right choice. It looks bloody good. So, yeah. There you go. See? Told you they'd look good. Quick reminder of what they looked like before. Alright, what do you guys think? Do you like them? Do you think they're glitzy enough? Unfortunately, the glitter in the top really didn't show through. very well or at all. You can only really see it if you're looking for it, and I know it's there, so of course I'm going to look for it. Um, but hopefully it is shiny and diamondy enough to pass the challenge. If not, I'm still super happy doing these challenges. I absolutely love them, and I love how they turned out. They are very, very girly. Not really my thing, but they're not for me. Hopefully, they will sell easily. I know there's heaps of mums out there that like to do up their daughters' rooms with all the girly, glittery stuff. I don't know. I have three boys. I don't do all the girly, glittery stuff, and I'm kind of glad I don't. Um, Thank you to Meg for hosting this challenge. It was really nice to do something different and kind of pulls you out of your comfort zone to do different things, which is good. Don't forget to, I forgot. Don't forget to look in the description for the playlist for the challenge if you're not already on the playlist. Don't forget to check the description for all of the products I used. There's other challenges coming up, so make sure you subscribe so that you can keep up to date. And don't forget to have a great day. We'll leave it at that, shall we? I need to get some rest. Alright, bye. Thanks for watching.